Letter 514 by Charles Lamb. May 10, 1830. Dear Southey, my friend Hone, whom you would like for a friend, I found deeply impressed with your generous notice of him in your beautiful Life of Bunyan, which I am just now full of. He has written to you for leave to publish a certain good-natured letter. I write not this to enforce his request, for we are fully aware that the refusal of such publication would be quite consistent with all that is good in your character. Neither he nor I expect it from you, nor exact it, but if you would consent to it, you would have me obliged by it, as well as him. He is just now in a critical situation. Kind friends have opened a coffee house for him in the city, but their means have not extended to the purchase of coffee pots, credit for reviews, newspapers, and other paraphernalia. So I am sitting in the skeleton of a possible divan. What right I have to interfere, you best know. Look on me as a dog who went once temporarily insane and bit you and now begs for a crust. Will you set your wits to a dog? Our object is to open a subscription, which my friends of the Times are most willing to forward for him, but think that a leave from you to publish would aid it. But not an atom of respect or kindness will or shall it abate in either of us if you decline it. Have this strongly in your mind. Those everyday and table books will be a treasure 100 years hence, but they have failed to make Hone's fortune. Here his wife and all his children are about me, gaping for coffee customers, but how should they come in, seeing no pot boiling? Enough of Hone. I saw Coleridge a day or two since. He has had some severe attack, not paralytic, but if I had not heard of it, I should not have found it out. He looks, and especially speaks, strong. How are all the Wordsworths and all the Southeys, whom I am obliged to you if you have not brought up haters of the name of? P.S. I have gone lately into the acrostic line. I find genius, such as I had, declines with me, but I get clever. Do you know anybody that wants charades, or such things, for albums? I do 'em at so much a sheet. Perhaps an epigram, not a very happy gram, I did for a schoolboy yesterday may amuse. I pray Jove he may not get a flogging for any false quantity, but tease, with one exception, the only Latin verses I have made for 40 years, and I did it to order. Adsisit sibi divishes et opes alienas fer, rapiens, spolians, quod mihi, quodque tibi, proprium erat, temnens hic verba meumque suumque, omnissuum est, tandem cuique suum tribuit. Dat laquil calum, vests, va carnifici dat, sis diabolo, sic bene, cuique suum. I write from Hone's, therefore Mary cannot send her love to Mrs. Southey, but I do. Yours ever, C.L. Major's edition of the Pilgrim's Progress, mentioned in a letter to Barton above, was issued in 1830 with a memoir of Bunyan by Southey. It was reviewed in the Times for May 7, 1830, I think probably by Lamb, in the following terms. The public is aware that the unexhausted diligence and unwearied pen of Mr. Southey have produced a new and excellent edition of the celebrated Pilgrim's Progress, with the life of the author prefixed. This life is, no doubt, an interesting work, though we wish the author, both in that and in the account, which is attributed to him, of the founder of the Jesuits, contained in a recent periodical work, had taken more time. The narrative in both is hasty and tumultuary, if we may use the latter expression. There is no time or room for reflection, and when a reflection comes, it is so mixed and jammed in with the story, or with quotations from the works or words of the respective heroes of the history, that it escapes unobserved. Could we, without grievous offense, recommend, both to Mr. Southey and Sir Walter Scott, to recollect the man spoken of by Horace? Quem fama est esse librisque ambustum propriis, sat. I. 61. Yet still, as we said above, the Life of Bunyan is an interesting work. How different the origin of all the sects and their founders from that of our sober, staid, and, we trust, permanent establishment, and the learned and pious reformers from whom it sprang. But that for which we chiefly notice this work of Mr. Southey is the very last sentence in it, wherein is contained his frank and honorable recommendation, though not more than they deserve, of the works of one whom the iron hand of oppression would have leveled with the dust. In one of the volumes collected from various quarters, which were sent to me for this purpose, I observed the name of W. Hone, and notice it that I may take the opportunity of recommending his everyday book and table book to those who are interested in the preservation of our national and local customs. By these very curious publications, their compiler has rendered good service in an important department of literature, and he may render yet more if he obtain the encouragement which he well deserves. Not only we and the person mentioned in this paragraph, but all the friends of pure English literature, all the curious in old English customs, in short, all intelligent men with the hearts of Englishmen in them, owe Mr. Southey their gratitude for this recommendation. It springs from a just taste and right feeling united. Hone wrote to the Times at once to thank both the paper and Southey for the compliment. A few days later, on May 21, appeared an article in the Times containing correspondence between Hone and Southey. I quote the introduction, again probably the work of Lamb, and Southey's letter. See Lamb's letter to Hone below. We alluded some days ago to the handsome notice of Mr. Hone in Mr. Southey's Life of Bunyan. The following correspondence has since been sent to us. It displays in an advantageous light the modesty of Mr. Hone and the amiable and candid disposition of Mr. Southey. The business, wholly foreign to Mr. Hone's former pursuits, which is alluded to in the letter, is explained in an advertisement in this day's paper. To Mr. Hone, 13 Gracechurch Street. Keswick, April 26. Sir, your letter has given me both pain and pleasure. I am sorry to learn that you are still, in the worldly sense of the word, an unfortunate man, that you are withdrawn from pursuits which were consonant to your habits and inclinations, and that a public expression of respect and goodwill, made in the hope that it might have been serviceable to you, can have no such effect. When I observed your autograph in the little book, I wrote to inquire of Mr. Major whether it had come to his hands from you, directly or indirectly, for my use, that, in that case, I might thank you for it. It proved otherwise, but I would not lose an opportunity which I had wished for. Judging of you, as I would myself be judged, by your works, I saw in the editor of the Everyday and Table books a man who had applied himself with great diligence to useful and meritorious pursuits. I thought that time, and reflection and affliction, of which it was there seen that he had had his share, had contributed to lead him into this direction, which was also that of his better mind. What alteration had been produced in his opinions, it concerned not me to inquire. Here there were none but what were unexceptionable, no feelings but what were to be approved. From all that appeared, I supposed he had become a sadder and a wiser man. I therefore wished him success in his literary undertakings. The little parcel which you mention I shall receive with pleasure. I wish you success in your present undertaking, whatever it be, and that you may one day, under happier circumstances, resume a pen which has, of late years, been so meritoriously employed. If your new attempt prosper, you will yet find leisure for intellectual gratification, and for that self-improvement which may be carried on even in the busiest concerns of life. I remain, sir, yours with sincere goodwill. In the advertisement columns of the same issue of the Times, May 21, was the following notice, drawn up, I assume, by Lamb. The family of William Hone, in the course of last winter, were kindly assisted by private friends to take and alter the premises they now reside in, number 13, Gracechurch Street, for the purpose of a coffee house, to be managed by Mrs. Hone and her elder daughters. But they are in a painful exigency which increases hourly, and renders a public appeal indispensable. The well-wishers to Mr. Hone throughout the kingdom, especially the gratified readers of his literary productions, in all of which he has long ceased to have an interest, and from none of which can he derive advantage, are earnestly solicited to afford the means of completing the fittings and opening the house in a manner suited to its proposed respectability. If this aid be yielded without loss of time, it will be of indescribable benefit, inasmuch as it will put an end to many grievous anxieties and expenses, inseparable from the lengthened delay which has hitherto been inevitable, and will enable the family to immediately commence the business, which alone they look forward to for support. Subscriptions will be received by the following bankers: Messrs. Ransom and Co., Pall Mall East; Messrs. Dixon, Sons and Brooks, Chancery Lane; Messrs. Ladbroke and Co., Bank Buildings, Cornhill; and by Mr. Clowes, printer 14 Charing Cross, Mr. Thomas Rod, bookseller 2 Great Newport Street, Mr. Griffiths, bookseller 13 Wellington Street, Strand, Mr. Effingham Wilson, bookseller, Royal Exchange, and Messrs. Fisher and Markshay, biscuit bakers, 55 Threadneedle Street. The first list of subscriptions, headed by Charles Lamb, Esquire, Enfield, £10, came to £103. This was Monday, May 31. The next list was published on June 10, accompanied by the following note in the body of the paper. The subscriptions for Mr. Hone, it will be perceived, are going on favourably. In the list now published is the name of the Duke of Bedford, who has sent 20L. His cause has been warmly espoused by the provincial journals, more than 20 of which have inserted his appeal gratuitously, with offers to receive and remit subscriptions. The aphorism, "He gives twice who gives quickly," could not receive a more cogent application than in the present instance, for the funds are required to enable Mr. Hone to commence business in his new undertaking, where he is already placed with his family, liable to rent and taxes and other claims, but gaining nothing until his outfit is completed. Hone, however, did not prosper in spite of his friends, who were not sufficiently numerous to find the requisite capital. Suum Cuique, the boy for whom this epigram was composed, was a son of Hesse, the publisher, afterwards Archdeacon Hesse. He was at the Merchant Taylor's School, where it was a custom to compose Latin and English epigrams for speech day, the boys being permitted to get help. Archdeacon Hesse wrote as follows in the Taylorian a few years ago. The subjects for 1830 were Suum Cuique and Brevis Esse Laboro. After some 3 or 4 exercise nights, I confess that I was literally at my wit's end. But a brilliant idea struck me. I had frequently, boy as I was, seen Charles Lamb at my father's house, and once in 1825 or 1826, I had been taken to have tea with him and his sister, Mary Lamb, at their little house, Colebrook Cottage, a whitish-brown tenement standing by itself, close to the New River at Islington. He was very kind, as he always was to young people, and very quaint. I told him that I had devoured his roast pig. He congratulated me on possessing a thorough schoolboy's appetite, and he was pleased when I mentioned my having seen the boys at Christ's Hospital at their public suppers, which then took place on the Sunday evenings in Lent. Could this good-natured and humorous old gentleman be prevailed upon to give me an epigram? I don't know. Said my father, to whom I put the question, but I will ask him at any rate and send him the mottos. In a day or two there arrived from Enfield, to which Lamb had removed some time in 1827, not 1, but 2 epigrams, 1 on each subject. That on Suum Cuique was in Latin, and was suggested by the grim satisfaction which had recently been expressed by the public at the capture and execution of some notorious highwaymen. See also Vol. Roman 4, of this edition for a slightly differing version. Lamb had many years before, he says in a letter to Godwin, written similar epigrams. With one exception, perhaps the Latin verses on Haydon's picture, see Vol. Roman 4.